You're slowly destroying yourself, and the worst part, you don't even notice it. Every time you say yes when deep down you mean no. Every time you hold in your frustration just to avoid coming off as difficult. Every time you sacrifice your time, your energy, your own dreams, just so no one else is disappointed. You carve a little deeper into the prison you built for yourself. You might think you're being kind, maybe even noble. Maybe you take pride in being the one everyone can always count on. But let's call it what it is. This isn't generosity. It's not compassion. It's self-abandonment. You've spent so long molding yourself to be what others need, want, or expect, that somewhere along the way, you forgot who you are. And the scariest part, it's become automatic. You walk into a room, scan everyone's mood, anticipate what they want to hear, and become whatever version of yourself keeps things smooth. Not because you want to, but because you need to. You crave that approval, that smile, that nod, that look that says you belong. But here's the price, and it's steep. You're draining your life force, wasting your time, the most limited, precious thing you have in a performance, to maintain a harmony that isn't even real. And your own wants, your voice, they always come last, always postponed, always silenced. Carl Jung had a name for this identification with the persona. It's the mask we wear to be accepted by the world around us. And the more you confuse yourself with that mask, the more lost you become. It's like playing a character for so long you start to forget there's a real person underneath. But here's a tougher truth, one that's harder to admit. This whole pleasing everyone thing, it's not just about being nice. It's a defense mechanism, an escape. It lets you avoid something you don't want to look at, your shadow. That's the part of you you've buried, the part that carries your frustration, your unmet needs, your anger, your voice that wants to say enough. As long as you don't face that shadow, it keeps running the show from behind the scenes. It whispers in your ear when you smile through discomfort. It clutches your chest when you try to speak up but don't. And what feeds this whole cycle? The deep illusion that you need to be liked in order to be worthy, in the courage to be disliked. Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga put it plainly, living for other people's expectations turns you into a prisoner. You chase recognition like it's the source of your value, but it never satisfies. Because it never will. It's a loop that can't be completed. So let's expose this loop together. In this video, we're digging deep into the forces that keep you stuck in the pattern of pleasing. We'll talk about how your need for acceptance and your attachment to the persona are sabotaging your authenticity. And more importantly, we'll look at how you can break out of it. This is the path of individuation, the journey of becoming who you truly are. It won't be easy. You'll have to face fears, emotions, and truths you've buried for years. But if you keep walking, if you stay curious and open, you'll find something far more valuable than approval. You'll find your inner freedom, because here's the deal. You weren't born to please. Somewhere along the way, you were taught that you had to. Maybe it started when you were a kid. You realized early on that your real feelings, anger, sadness, frustration, weren't welcome. You learned that if you were quiet, kind, helpful, you'd be loved. That love came with conditions. Be easy, don't cause problems, be pleasant, then you'll be accepted. And that right there is how the invisible cycle begins. a coping mechanism that slowly becomes a trap. From that point on, you start living in a constant state of hyper-awareness. You read the room, watch faces, detect tension, anticipate needs before they're even voiced. You offer the solution before there's even a problem. A smile, a favor, a gesture that keeps everything smooth no matter what it costs you. All because deep down, your nervous system believes, if I disappoint someone, I won't belong. And that fear of not belonging, it's one of the deepest human fears there is. Alfred Adler, in his theory of individual psychology, explains that we're all driven by a core need to belong. But when that desire becomes distorted, we start sacrificing ourselves just to be seen, just to be valued. And when that happens, it becomes a misdirected, self-sabotaging quest for social approval. Kashimi and Koga make it even clearer. When you live to meet other people's expectations, you give up your freedom and fall into chronic anxiety. Because here's the cruelest twist: the more you say yes when you want to say no, the more people expect that from you. And the harder it becomes to break the cycle. Why? Because now it's not just their expectations, you've built your whole identity around being that person. So if you stop, if you suddenly start setting boundaries, you're not just disappointing others. You're betraying the very image you've created of yourself. And that's how it happens. You start to disappear. Your time that could have gone to your growth, your healing, your passions gets hijacked. Your energy that could have fueled your dreams is burned up, keeping other people comfortable. But maybe you don't fully see this. Maybe you tell yourself, I like helping people, or I don't mind doing this. But under the surface, there's a low hum of fatigue, of resentment, of longing for something you can't name. A quiet voice inside begging, can I just live for me? That voice won't go away until you answer it, until you break the cycle. But why is it so hard? Why do you keep falling back into the same pattern, even when you know it's costing you? That's what we'll explore next. In the upcoming section, we're going to dive deeper into the persona, this mask you've been wearing. We'll talk about how it became your protection and also your prison. And why, until you stop identifying with it, you'll never truly be free, no matter how much you want to be. So if this is resonating with you so far, take a second to subscribe. And leave a comment below. What's one moment in your life where you said yes, when you truly wanted to say no? Your story could be the mirror someone else needs. Let's keep going together. Let's take a moment to sit with a hard truth. You're not just acting like someone you're not. You've started to believe that this mask, this persona, is who you actually are. And that's where the real damage begins. Carl Jung described the persona as the social mask we all wear. It's not inherently bad. In fact, it's necessary. It helps you interact with the world, function in society, and respond appropriately in different environments. Without it, we'd be like kids with no filters, blurting, breaking, and burning bridges. But when you over-identify with that mask, when the role becomes your identity, that's when things go sideways. Let's say over the years you noticed a pattern. Every time you were helpful, flexible, agreeable, people liked you. You were accepted. You were praised. But when you spoke up, when you asked for what you needed, when you showed anger or sadness or frustration, you were shut down. Maybe criticized, maybe ignored. So your system made a smart choice. Hide the parts that make people uncomfortable. Amplify the parts that make them like you. And over time, this becomes your persona, your good person identity. Kind, trustworthy, altruistic, strong, always available, always saying yes. But here's what most people don't realize. That's not you. It's just a version of you that was rewarded. A character you've been performing to stay safe and loved. And the more you become that character, the further away you get from yourself. Jung said that the more we identify with the persona, the more disconnected we become from our true essence, the place where your raw, unfiltered truth lives. Your needs, your boundaries, your voice. Now here's the hard part. The persona isn't just a habit, it's a shield. It protects you from what you've spent years avoiding, your shadow. That shadow holds all the things you've been taught to suppress: your anger, your selfish desires, your need to draw the line. The stuff that doesn't look nice on the outside. The parts you were told were too much or not enough. And because you don't want to feel those things, because they're uncomfortable, messy, or even shameful, you keep the mask on. But every time you do that, you give up a piece of yourself. Pleasing others compulsively isn't just a social strategy. It's a survival response. It's a subconscious way to dodge emotional confrontation. You're not avoiding conflict with others. You're avoiding conflict with yourself. And the more you avoid your shadow, the more you fall into roles that reinforce it. The martyr, the fixer, the caregiver, the savior. These archetypes, as Jung called them, are seductive. They come with praise. People say you're amazing. You're so selfless. I don't know what I'd do without you. But here's the kicker. These roles are still just masks, and no one can wear them forever without breaking down. The longer you ignore your own needs, the more you start to feel it in your body. Burnout, anxiety, numbness, resentment, emotional exhaustion. A hollow kind of sadness that's hard to name. These are signs, warnings, alarms going off in your soul, because somewhere deep inside your real self is still alive. Knocking on the door, asking, when is it my turn? And even if you try to change, even if you start saying, I'm going to put myself first, you hit a wall. You feel guilt, shame, fear, and you slide right back into the pattern. Why? Because you never actually dealt with what's underneath the shadow. That's what we need to talk about next. This fear of saying no, this struggle to hold your boundaries, it's rooted in something far deeper than just people-pleasing. It's rooted in the emotional programming of your early life. When you were little, love wasn't always unconditional. You were told directly or indirectly that some feelings were welcome and others were not. That your anger was dangerous. That your sadness made people uncomfortable. That if you cried, got mad, or said no, you were difficult. You were a problem, so you adapted. You tucked those emotions away and wore the face that kept you safe. But what happens to all those repressed feelings? They don't disappear. They go underground, into the shadow. And the longer they stay hidden, the more they warp into pain. Resentment, self-abandonment, chronic fatigue, a loss of direction. The truth is, if you don't learn to face your shadow, it will keep controlling you in quiet, painful ways. You'll keep saying yes when you want to say no. You'll keep showing up for everyone else while ghosting yourself. You'll keep sacrificing your time, your energy, your soul, because you're too afraid of what might happen if you stop. But here's the thing, that fear isn't real. It's old, outdated. It's the voice of a younger you who was scared of being left behind, who thought they had to be perfect to be loved. But you're not that child anymore. You're not that version of yourself, and you don't have to play those roles to be worthy of love or belonging. The truth: you can say no and still be loved. You can take up space and still be accepted. You can disappoint people and still be whole. That's what breaking the cycle looks like, and it doesn't happen overnight. This isn't about becoming assertive by force. It's about healing from the inside out. You don't need to fight your shadow. You need to integrate it. You need to say, yes, I have anger. Yes, I have limits. Yes, I want more for myself. And that doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you human. And yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to feel guilt, maybe shame, maybe fear. But those emotions, they're not your enemy. They're the door. Jung said it best. What you resist persists. If you avoid guilt, it will haunt you. If you repress anger, it will come out sideways through tension, bitterness, or emotional breakdowns. If you keep swallowing your truth, it will slowly erode your sense of self. So instead of running from those feelings, learn to sit with them. Observe them. Let them rise. Because when you can hold your emotions without being ruled by them, you start to reclaim your power. This is how you begin to step out of the persona and reconnect with your true self. Not by becoming someone new, but by finally coming home to the person you've always been underneath it all. But now comes the real question. How do you actually do this in real life? How do you stop saying yes out of habit? How do you set boundaries without being overwhelmed by guilt or fear? That's what we'll explore in the next section. We're going to break this down into practical, doable steps. You'll learn how to pause before reacting, how to say no without apology, and how to start creating relationships that honor who you really are, not just who you've pretended to be. Because you don't need to become more perfect. You need to become more you. So if any of this is landing for you, if something deep inside is waking up, share it in the comments. What mask have you been wearing? What truth are you ready to reclaim? Your story could be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Let's keep walking this path together. Now that you've started to peel away the mask and get a glimpse of what's underneath, you might be wondering, what do I do with all of this? How do I stop living for everyone else and finally live for me? It starts here with practical steps. Because understanding the pattern is one thing, but rewiring it, that takes action. That takes practice. And more than anything, it takes patience with yourself. So let's start with the first strategy, the conscious pause. Next time you're about to say yes, when everything inside you is screaming, no, pause. Just pause. Take a breath. Count to 10. Let the discomfort come. Don't run from it. Let the guilt bubble up. Let the fear of disappointing someone surface, but this time just watch it. That pause creates space between the old autopilot and a new conscious choice. That space is where change lives. You don't need to say yes right away. You don't even need to explain. You can say, let me think about that, or I need a moment. Those few seconds can be the crack where your real voice starts to break through. Now, the second strategy. Start small. You don't have to tear your life apart overnight. Begin practicing no in low-risk situations. Decline an invitation you're not excited about. Don't reply to a message right away. Postpone a task that isn't urgent just because someone asked for it. Each of these small acts is a vote for your autonomy, a vote for the real you. And every time you follow through, even if your voice shakes, you're sending a message to your nervous system. It's safe to choose myself. Third strategy, evaluate your circle. Who in your life respects your boundaries? Who gets upset when you take space or say no? Notice who thrives when you're stuck in people-pleasing mode. Those are often the ones who will resist your growth the most. Start shifting your energy. Prioritize people who can handle the real you, not just the convenient version. Because relationships that demand your self-abandonment aren't connections, they're contracts built on silence. You don't have to cut people off aggressively, but you do need to get honest. Which relationships support the person you're becoming, and which ones keep dragging you back into who you're not? Fourth, practice clear communication. One reason people don't respect your boundaries is because you've never clearly said where they are. And that's not entirely your fault. If you've been trained to be agreeable, directness might feel rude. But it's not. It's clarity. And clarity is kindness. Start using phrases like, "I'm not available for that. That doesn't work for me. I need some time to think about it." Simple, firm. No need for over-explaining or guilt-ridden justifications. Every time you speak like this, you reinforce your self-worth. You show people and yourself that your needs matter. And here's the thing. Not everyone will like it. Some people will push back. They might say, "You've changed," or "You're being selfish." Let them. That resistance is proof that your boundaries are working. Because when you stop living for others, you start unsettling the dynamics that benefited from your silence. But that doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're growing. Let's not sugarcoat it. This process is hard. You'll mess up. You'll say yes when you meant no. You'll overextend yourself. And you might go to bed wondering, did I do the right thing? That's okay. Growth isn't linear. There's no perfect version of this. What matters is that you notice, that you come back, that you keep choosing yourself over and over, even if it's just in small ways. And every time you do, you're reclaiming your life. But there's one more truth we need to talk about. And it's this. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. It is not wrong. It is not something you need to apologize for. It's the foundation for everything else. When you start to honor your limits, when you protect your energy, when you say no with love, you don't just heal yourself. You start to show up differently in your relationships. With more presence, more truth, more peace. Because let's be honest, people-pleasing doesn't build intimacy. It builds tension. It creates relationships rooted in fear, guilt, and obligation. But when you start showing up as your full self, your whole messy, honest self, you give others permission to do the same. And yeah, that might scare some people away, but it will also draw the right people in. Because authenticity attracts alignment. Always. So as you walk this new path, celebrate the small wins. The moments you speak your truth. The days you rest without guilt. The times you disappoint someone and survive. Those moments matter. Because you're no longer abandoning yourself. You're coming home. And that's the real work. Not becoming someone better, but remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. You weren't born to be everyone's favorite. You were born to be free, to live a life that reflects who you truly are, not who others expect you to be. to take up space, to say what you mean, to want what you want, to feel what you feel, and to know in your bones that all of that is not only okay, it's necessary. So here's what I want to leave you with. Next time you feel the urge to please, to say yes, to avoid the tension, pause. Ask yourself, am I doing this from love or from fear? Because real love starts with you. Real peace begins within. And true freedom, it comes when you stop running from yourself and start standing with yourself. If this journey resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Drop a comment below. What's one boundary you're ready to set? What's one part of yourself you're finally willing to reclaim? Let's talk about it. Let's hold space for it. You never know who needs your words today. And if this video opened something in, you know that this is just the beginning. There's more waiting for you. Deeper healing, stronger boundaries, truer connections. So subscribe if you haven't already. Watch the next video, it might be exactly what your soul's been asking for. And remember, I'm right here with you every step of the way. You don't have to earn your worth. You already are enough. Let's keep going.